Sam.
Good evening. Call to order. This is a pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act.
He's saying he can't hear you. That's surprising.
How about now?
Yeah, no, a little better.
Is that better? I don't know how you can make it any louder. Can you make it louder by hitting this button, Frank?
It's got to have the red light on.
Yeah, red light's on. Okay, I'll just get a little closer to it. Sorry. This meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law, 1975. Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Julian?
Here.
Mr. Connor?
Here.
Dr. Maruli?
Here.
Mr. Peason?
Here.
Mr. Lapani?
Here.
Committeeman Delcor?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Here.
And Vice Chairman Cohen?
Here. Disposition of minutes. We have September 4th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Yes.
Is everybody, is everybody qualified for that one?
Well,
Not me. No.
Okay. Just
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
There's no disposition of resolutions. I apologize, without my glasses, so I'm going to do the best I can. Planning board business. Before I move to the next two agenda items, actually, it's written in. Thank you.
Chairman Cohen, if we may defer that until the end of the meeting.
We're going to do that for the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on.
Oh, you do? Oh, I didn't
Frank
realize.
has the oath.
Oh, Frank, you have the oath? Okay, then we're going to go
Thank
ahead
you.
and open up the floor to the members for nominations to secretary for the term of the year.
I nominate Dr. Maruli.
This is for a position of secretary to the board. Any seconds?
I second it.
I have a second from Mr. Connor. Any other nominations? I close nominations. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Dr. Maruli?
I get to vote for myself?
I think
Okay.
so.
All right. Sure. Okay.
As long as you're not absent.
Yeah, I'm present.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
And Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes. Enthusiastically, yes. Okay, do you want to swear them in?
Sure.
Okay.
Stand, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dan Maruli.
Just speak into the mic so
Oh,
we
yeah,
can hear you.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
I, Dan Maruli,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
justly perform
all of the duties of office
all of the duties of office
of Secretary of Planning Board
of Secretary of the Planning Board
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Bruce, just point of order, were we supposed to give him the oath also for moving to seat 5?
Yes, because he's changing seats.
So we're going to have to do it
With
again.
Todd's resignation.
Because of Todd Mershon's leaving the board, you're now moving the seat over. So you have to take the oath for that as well.
I did. I took that already previously. Yeah.
Deborah wasn't aware.
I came to the
Okay.
office and took it. Yeah. That was done.
Nobody can question Dr. Maruli's veracity.
Thank you. No.
Okay, special committee reports, do we have any? None?
not.
Great, how about business from the floor? Is there any business from the floor?
Not related.
Not related to any of the applications? None, seeing none. Consideration of any ordinances, I don't know if we have any. Bruce, do we have any ordinances that need to be discussed?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we'll just move right to the public hearing. Our first application is a subdivision site plan application titled Hillsborough Park LLC, file number 14-PB-16-SR, block 200.02, lot 9-105. This is on Stryker Lane. The applicant is seeking preliminary and final amended major site plan approval to construct 29 additional parking spaces on property that's in a light industrial zone. We have an EC review, and this was an application that was now withdrawn.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The applicant determined after a further review of the municipal code and applicable law that he really did not belong before this board. He belonged before the zoning board and has withdrawn his application before this board and will be refiling accordingly with the zoning board of adjustment.
Thank you. Record's clear. Okay, next we have Copart of Connecticut, Inc. It's an amended application, file number 14-PB-15-SR, block 73.01, comma, lot 1, and block 71, comma, lot 1.01, dash 2124, I'm sorry, address 2124 Camplain Road and Camplain Sunnymead Road. Applicant seeking amended major site plan approval from conditions of Board Resolution 10-PB-13-SRV adopted March 3rd, 2011, and Board Resolution 11-PB-03-SR adopted May 26, 2011, to revise the hours of operation and restrict the existing driveway exit to a right turn only on property in the L1 Light Industrial District. Ready for
Yes, thank you.
the show? All right.
Is that mic on?
Is it on?
Yeah.
Sounds like it, yeah.
It's up
Okay.
to, can you hear him? A little louder. Cass says a little louder, please.
Okay,
A
I'll
little
speak.
closer. Just move it closer to you. I know it's
Okay.
a pain. It's a bother.
No, it's fine, it's good. Charles Liebling, Wendell's Marks, Lane and Mittendorf, representing Copart of Connecticut, owner of the properties that the Vice Chair mentioned that are the subject of the application. I think because we will be constantly referring to the plans, it probably makes sense to put them up now, mark them as exhibits so that we don't lose momentum in doing that. Is that possible?
No, Bruce?
Chairman Cohen, before testimony begins, it has been brought to the staff's attention there was a question whether or not proper notice has been given, and in particular whether the 200-foot property owners related to this application have been properly noticed. I would like to state for the record that I have personally reviewed the notice filing. I have reviewed the information provided by the administrative officer for the Township of Hillsborough as regards the 200-foot list, and with one of the clerks in our office gone through all of the notice cards, and I can certify to you that everyone who was supposed to have been noticed has been noticed.
All right, thank you. For the record, any comments from the board about that? Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Bruce.
I'll mark it A1.
Okay, Carl, what is A1?
You want to give the mic?
The amended site plan?
I have a sticker. Thank you.
We have a second board as well.
Thank you. A2.
A2 is the exhibit site plan.
I need to swear Carl in.
He's not testifying immediately,
Okay,
but, okay.
sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Just to orient you, The site plan on the left is just lot 1 in block 73.01. That's the lot that has the building and the entrance and the exit on it. Lot 71, lot .01 is shown on on Exhibit A2. It's the piece to the left, and the piece to the right is the same site. Is the full site of what is shown in part on Exhibit A1. So, to get a sense of the whole site, which is the subject of this application, with respect to the conditions, is on the right. The site plan only relates to the left. Okay. I'm going to call the lot with the building and the entrance and the exit the main lot, and I'll call the other lot on the left the back lot. These two lots are connected, as you see at the top, and they're used together for Copart's business operations. Copart started operations on the main lot in 2001 and acquired the back lot in 2010 to handle additional vehicles. The back lot has no structures on it, and it has no separate access. Access is only through the lot on the right, the main lot, and through the connection at the top. The property is located in the I-1 zone, and Copart currently operates an internet vehicle processing facility at the site. That is a permitted conditional use in the I-1 zone. The board granted site plan approval for the main lot in January 2011 and the back lot in March 2011. All the conditions for the conditional use were met. There were no variances required. I'd just like to recall for a moment the significance of the site plan approval that Copart obtained for the main lot. The changes included improved lighting, improved circulation, improved landscaping, an improved staging area, a reduction of impervious cover, and most significantly, the construction of an on-site detention basin to mitigate the long-standing problem of runoff from the property. All that is in place and is currently operational. The site plan for the back lot has also been fully implemented. That site is gravelled. It doesn't have any structures and it has no lighting on it. As part of each of the site plan approvals, Copart agreed to accept limitations as to its hours of operation. For the main lot, the hours are limited to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, with drop-off of vehicles permitted after hours. No trucks are permitted to enter the site after 11 p.m. For the back lot, the hours of operation are limited to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and of course there are no drop-offs occurring on that site. In the meantime, Copart's business has grown, and in order for it to effectively operate, it needs to modestly expand its permitted hours of operations. We're here to explain the reasons for that and how we propose to implement it. Before we go through the details, though, of the revisions that we're seeking, it's important for the board to understand how Copart's business works. This is not a typical retail or service business that we're all generally familiar with.
Mr. Liebling?
Yes.
Are you going to provide testimony to that, or are you going to be the testifier?
About what?
The kind of operation?
No, I will not be testifying.
So my suggestion might be, right, if you've got somebody to call, I think the board would be happy to hear them. I'll call them as soon as I'm done with my introduction. This is a business that most of us don't even know exists, but it's one that's vital to the operation of the automobile marketplace and the automobile insurance industry. It's referred to as an internet vehicle processing facility, and Hillsborough has seen fit to specifically include this in the I-1 zone. As you'll learn from my client, this is a highly competitive business, which, like every service business, customers demand responsiveness and quick turnaround times. Copart is here tonight to continue its collaboration with the township in working to alleviate this current set of growing pains, and they look forward to being a corporate citizen in Hillsborough for a long time to come. I'm going to invite first up Kenneth Hopkins, who's the manager of the facility, to explain how Copart's business operates. Come up. Yeah. And use that microphone.
Need to be sworn in.
Yes. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you. State your full name, spelling your last name.
Kenneth Hopkins, H-O-P-K-I-N-S.
Microphone, please.
Kenneth Hopkins, H-O-P-K-I-N-S.
Thank you.
Mr. Hopkins, can you state what your position with Copart is?
I'm the general manager of the facility. I run the day-to-day operations.
Okay. Can you explain exactly what Copart's business is?
Copart is an internet auction, and the best way to explain this is to kind of tell you the Copart story. For instance, if, God forbid, I get in an accident and my vehicle is damaged, that vehicle is subsequently transferred from the scene of the accident to the tow yard or tow facility or repair shop. The insurance adjuster comes out there and they appraise the vehicle to see if it's deemed a total loss. If the insurance company deems it a total loss, they pay out the claim, they pay me for the car, and now they own the car. So what do they do with the car? Most people don't even know. They just think that the car just magically goes away. Well, it comes to us. The insurance companies hire us to go pick up the car, bring it to our facility, and we process the car. And how we process it is we take photographs of the vehicle, standard photographs of the vehicle. We do the title work for the vehicle for the insurance company, and we put it on an online-based auction. It's still considered, it's a live auction, but it's online, so it's like eBay on steroids. What we do as far as the day-to-day operation to facilitate that, we hire independent contractors that go out and pick up these vehicles on our behalf. Those vehicles are our inventory, those are our supply chain. And then once we process these vehicles and they're ready for auction, our customers purchase these online. They hire or they come to the facility themselves to pick up the car, or they hire a transporter to pick up the car, and we offload the car to them. And we use heavy machinery, forklifts, to load these vehicles or these transporters up for these customers, and then they carry those vehicles away.
Okay. How many facilities does the company have?
Currently, our company has over 150 facilities domestically in the United States. We're a global company. We have 13 facilities in the United Kingdom. We have a facility in Germany, Spain. We're opening a facility in China. We're expanding. We're expanding in India. We currently have a facility in Brazil and Dubai.
In Hillsborough, how many people are working at this facility right now?
I currently have 23 employees.
Okay.
Are they full-time employees?
They are all full-time employees, yes, sir.
How many part-time?
No part-time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you to go up to Exhibit A1, which is the one on the left, and describe the layout of the site?
This area right here is designated parking area, so this is where our customers park. This is where our employees park. This grayed out area here is our bullpen. We call that the bullpen. In some of the reviews that I've read, it's also called the staging area. But the flow of traffic is we have our subhaulers, the people that we hire to pick up the vehicles, come through here and they drop the cars off in this bullpen area, and that's after hours. During regular business hours, our subhaulers come into the facility and they enter through to our storage facility, and we process the vehicles here in our receiving area. Now, customers that are picking up their vehicles that they purchased, though that happens in the same area here where we load the vehicles on for the customer.
Okay. How many vehicles are currently on the site?
There's approximately 3,400 cars.
Okay. Is that capacity, or you still have room?
We still have a little room left.
Okay. When did you start using the back lot? When did that come into use?
This back lot here,
Mm-hmm.
We started using that when we had approval, and that was in November 2013.
Okay. Okay. So you obtain inventory through these companies that you call subhaulers that bring in the cars that you've are being delivered to you. I had asked you to do some calculations, and I don't know if you need this, about numbers of trucks, numbers of cars.
Yes, so we get to that. I'm bad with math.
Okay. Just for the board's interest, what is a typical number of trucks that deliver each day, that come to the site to drop off vehicles?
Typically, there's 20 to 35 trucks that deliver vehicles, and 90% of those vehicles delivered are during regular business hours.
Okay, so the rest are in the 5 to 11 period that...
Correct.
That's part of the conditions, okay.
Sorry, what was that percentage?
90% of our trucks that are moving inside the facility that we hired are operating during business hours.
Those are the drop-offs.
Dropping off cars, yes.
That's not the picking up.
And how many cars does that turn into, more or less, from those 20 to 35 cars?
Typically, it's anywhere from 40 to 70 cars per day.
Get dropped off, okay. And you explained what you do with the cars that get dropped off. They go back into the yard.
They go back into the yard where the sub-hauler drops them off. We pick up the trash out of the cars, and we photograph the cars.
Okay. Do you do any disassembly or maintenance or fueling of those vehicles?
We do not disassemble, do any maintenance on the vehicles. We do not refuel the vehicles. The vehicles are there as is.
Okay. You sell any car parts?
We do not sell any parts.
Okay. Okay, so you explained the process that the insurance companies go through. How quickly does this occur from the time you get a car dropped off until it's up for auction?
We want to make it as quickly as possible because the insurance companies are relying on those photographs most of the time that we put on our website so they can ascertain maybe additional damage. So it's typically, we have a goal of an hour. So it's a quick turnaround time when that car drops at our facility that we inventory those cars.
Can somebody come here and walk around the yard and look for a car that they're interested in?
No, it's a private auction. You have to be a member. It is not open to the regular public. You do have to become a member.
Okay. Okay, so when an auction is won, how does the car that's purchased get to the truck that's coming to pick it up?
What was the question again?
When someone buys a car on auction, how does the car that they've purchased, which is somewhere in your storage area, how does that get onto the truck that they've sent to have it picked up?
That's the process you got when the auction's done. They want to get the product.
Right. Once the vehicle is received, it's actually stored away in our inventory, our storage area. That car sits there until it's sold. Once it's sold, we retrieve the car with our machinery, and then we load, as a courtesy, we load either it's a 10-car hauler or a 2-car hauler, 4-car hauler, or a tow dolly will help them load that vehicle.
And how many trucks come each day to pick up purchased cars?
There's typically 38 to 50 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, so you're not looking to expand the time frame for pickup, for customer pickup?
We are not.
Okay. And what does that turn into? 38 to 50 trucks is about how many cars?
That's typically around 40 to 76 cars a day.
Okay, all right. Hopefully that's given everybody a sense of the scope here. There's a new component of your business related to automobile donations. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Most of our business model is partnership with the insurance companies, but we have expanded our business into the donation field, where you probably heard the jingle over and over with Cars for Kids is one of our number one customers. That will service their donor cars for them and auction them off for them.
Okay, and what's the issue with that and the hours of operation?
Most people that do donate their vehicles are at work, so it's quite hard to get a hold of them and to schedule a pickup. It's more they're more easy to work with on a Saturday when they're not working.
So it works better for your business and for them to pick up the cars on Saturday and bring them to the site, and that's one of the operations on Saturday that you'd be looking to expand to.
Yes.
Okay. How does a natural disaster affect your business?
Our business is, other than, unfortunately, our business revolves around accidents, and it revolves around natural disasters and catastrophes. It is seasonal, and depending on the weather, creates more business for us. Unfortunately, we all endured the Hurricane Sandy event, which propelled our business to numbers that we could never have imagined. So having just that's unimaginable catastrophe. But just having a small catastrophe like Hurricane Irene, I believe a couple years ago, increased our business quite a bit.
So since you got through the bulk of cars that were delivered after Sandy, have things changed operationally at the site?
Yes, considerably. I can sleep better at night. I don't have to worry about much, but yeah, it's back to normal. It's been that way since Sandy was over. It took us a few months after it hit to maintain that level of normalcy, but business is normal.
Has the township been out on any enforcement issues since that period?
I have not received any notifications from them.
Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is the contents of the application. Now that we've established this background, Mr. Vice Chair, I don't know if you want to have any questions now, or we should just continue.
Is it the same witness?
Yes, it will be me and the witness. I'm going to explain the application.
It's a little unusual.
Pardon?
It's usually it's not a usual activity of an attorney.
To explain what we're requesting?
We rather prefer that you have an expert from the company discuss it, that we can ask questions, feel comfortable that we're having a direct response from the direct applicant.
Okay, I
Am I like off bounds on that one? I don't think so, because that's been a bug of mine for years anyway, that too much testifying by attorneys.
No, I'm not planning on testifying. Basically, I submitted the application.
You're splitting hairs.
I want to accommodate you, but I also want to properly present my application. Okay.
For now, there's a lot to chew on. Does anybody have any questions for what the witness has set up to now? Because I'd rather hear it now than wait and then have people forget what they wanted to talk about.
Do we have to open?
Do we have to open to the public before we do that, or can we?
No, you can, all amongst the board, we can open
Just
to the public.
yeah,
It's up to the public. At that point, the board can ask questions without opening to the
I'd
public.
rather have the board ask questions now, since he had a lot to say. Guys,
So-
up to you.
You said before you had about 3,400 cars.
Correct.
How many can you accommodate?
I think you told me 3,800, but you'll have to verify that.
You'll have to excuse me, I'm nervous.
Don't be, don't bite.
3,800.
And where did you peak after Sandy?
Sandy was a different story because we actually leased a sublot. I believe, if my memory serves me right, we had over 6,000 vehicles.
Wow.
And in 1 week's time, we filled up 44 acres of vehicles.
And at prior meetings, we've had issues, or I know there was plans being put in place to address some issues with trucks that were arriving early in advance of your opening, trucks that were utilizing your neighboring property lawns. Can you address what's been done to address that situation? What you guys have put in place, and has that, how in your view that situation has improved?
I've seen that it's improved greatly. It seemed that there was concern that was all based around the events that took place after Sandy, where we had so much inventory and so big of sales that that area that we were confined to or dealt with, but the property there couldn't accommodate all the vehicles that were, or the trucks that were coming in with the big sales that we had. So I believe now it's not as rampant as far as people parking in the morning. What we're planning on, how we're trying to mitigate that from happening in the future is we're proposing that we have new signage in place and proposing that law enforcement can take action if that does occur. Does that satisfy your question?
Thank you.
Mr. Bush, I had a couple of questions I wanted to ask. So this is going off of memory from last time. So, but there was in the Mazer report, there was, I remember last time we talked about one of the issues, or one of the bigger issues, was that we're exceeding the imperviousness, so we're increasing the imperviousness by whatever it was, 6-point-something%. So a lot had to do with the recalculation of the detention, the stormwater calculations. Was that report ever submitted to the township? The stormwater calculations for the detention basin?
May I respond?
Yeah.
He didn't work.
If he doesn't,
Yeah, that's probably not, I don't think that's a question for the.
I don't know, yeah, I don't know.
If you
who's
can't answer
coming
the
up.
question, just don't answer the question.
I don't know what
If you
impervious
can't
even
answer, don't
means.
answer, and Bruce hasn't spoke up, so I don't think he knows.
No, sir.
Okay, so we'll, at this point, we'll have Bruce look into it, okay? Is that all right, for now?
Yeah, I mean, it says it in the Mazer report, but I don't know if it ever got submitted. I never saw it. I don't know if the Environmental Commission ever saw it. I remember some of the other environmental issues from last time. We were talking about, I know there were lights, yeah, from trucks that were, you know, the neighbors were concerned about. I know there was noise issues also, idling at night, and yeah, those were the notes that I remember from last time. But Bruce, I don't have the environmental report from last time because it was such a while back, so I don't know if I'm missing anything else, but that's what I remember from last time. And then because of that, we wanted a waiver from the environmental impact statement. So I don't know if those issues were ever addressed to grant that waiver. I don't know if Mazer ever reviewed any of that. So that would be my questions.
The only question I have, thanks, Gino. The only question I have is, in the past, some of the issues with the delivery, mostly delivery, was parking and then waiting for somebody to open the gate, either because they were early or because somebody was busy and it was lightly manned. Yeah, so are you giving key passcodes to the drivers so they can get to the gate, open it up, and get off the road quickly, or you still have to wait for somebody, they still have to wait for somebody that's manning the inside of the facility to open up the gate?
The sub-haulers that we contract have a code to get in there,
Okay.
but the transporters that are hired by the purchasers of our vehicles
They
do
don't
not have that code.
Obviously.
I'm sorry, there was one more thing I had in my notes, I apologize. But there was also issue of like oil spills, grease and oil, or any other spills that came in from the cars, how that would calculate into like the stormwater management plan, did you consider that? And that was the other point.
Typically, there is no leakage from these vehicles because these cars are involved in a wreck. So if there was going to be a spill of such, then it would come from the accident scene or spill on the accident scene, or spill at the shop or whatever. These cars have already been sitting after they've been wrecked at a facility for weeks, possibly, maybe just days. So we do have in the case that there is a small spill, which does happen, we have a program in place. We use a proprietary soap called FM 186. What it does is we treat it with this soap, and it breaks down the hydrocarbons into an edible size that bacteria can consume these hydrocarbons and digest them. And we have reports that is a federal and statewide practice that's acceptable.
Yeah, so I would just request the other points I brought up, somebody, answer to those.
Michael Bruce will have
Okay,
to
got
tie
it.
that through together.
Is there an engineer?
Huh?
Is there an engineer?
Well, we'll see. Yeah, if the engineer, you're going to bring an engineer?
We do, to discuss the site
Okay,
plan.
good. Well, now you have some other testimony you wanted to,
I have another question.
okay.
Sorry.
Mr. Lapani has a question, please.
It pertains mostly to the, and if there is there an average turnover ratio of your inventory? For example, you're bringing in 25 to 30 cars a day. How often do you turn your inventory? Because obviously you have 3,400 cars in your lot right now, and you have a capacity to expand maybe another 400 cars. And the crux of this application appears to be you want to bring in more cars after hours. At what point does your inventory become quote-unquote dead if it didn't sell, and what happens with it at that point, and how long does it stay on your lot?
Well, the turnover time based off of, we record everything because everything's on a timeline for us. So the average turnaround time from the time that we pick up the vehicle to the time that it sells to the customer is around 65 days.
That's for every car?
Mostly every car. Mostly every car. I mean, there's a lot of cars that are involved in accidents where there's pending investigations. Those cars will sit there for a year or two. But for the most part, on average, the turnaround time is 65 days.
Okay, and at that,
To answer your second question,
okay.
I'm sorry, what was it again?
Well, my question is after 65 days, or if there's cars that go online that are not sold, that possibly, are they put into cold storage, or they just stay there in perpetuity, or do you move them off the site to somebody else on a wholesale basis? I mean, do you have cars on your lot that are there that are unsellable, so to speak?
We sell every car that goes to auction has a bid. We work in partnership with junkyards and scrap yards. Our junk buyer is not Klein's. Our junk buyer is Cars Inc., which is out of Trenton, I believe. They place a $300 bid on all our cars. So the ones that are not desirable, they get those. And usually they're the ones that are like burned shells of themselves.
If I could follow up, so if doing this math that I'm doing here, how do we get to 3,400 cars when it appears you're almost working on a 160-day cycle that I wouldn't find it hard to believe with doing those numbers how you get to 3,400 cars at that, moving every 60 to 90 days?
Well, we have one contract with an insurance company that their cycle time is a lot longer, and they're our biggest contract, which does make the cars linger a lot longer than we are. For instance, they need to approve the title work that we do before the car sells, and for some reason, every once in a while that their cars build up in our inventory, and finally they just let them go. So it does fluctuate. Right now they're building up again.
So no matter how busy you are, you're always going to be somewhere in the 3,000 to maximum. You're not going to be much below 3,000 ever.
Probably not.
You basically bring in as many as go out at this point, so your inventory is fairly fairly
inventory is
stable because you can't move them all off.
the inventory is a high priority of mine in that facility because I can't be stuck.
No, understood, but we recognize you want to move them out, but the fact is, now that you've reached, near peak, within 10 or 20% of capacity, you bring in as many cars as go out. Correct?
Just about. Yeah.
Right, so
Yeah.
that number's never going to drop much.
It shouldn't. I mean, if anything, yes. Before we had approval to use the back lot, we had to transport our cars elsewhere because we couldn't hold all the cars there. So that's what we were doing to maintain our inventory. Now that we can use that lot, everything is kind of balanced out now. So it all depends on what business we have. For instance, donation cars. When we gain business with more donation vehicles, obviously we have the title up front. We don't have to submit it to the DMV. Their turnaround time could take up to 60 days. With the title in hand, all we have to do is fill in the title for them with our powers of attorney, and the title is immediately in the next sale as soon as we get the car.
So your cost of doing business is less with cars for kids.
Turnover time's faster.
Turnaround time is way faster.
For this application, it doesn't matter.
No, I know, no, I'm just trying to understand the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions from the board? Please go ahead.
Sure. I'm appreciative of the fact that we've taken the time to understand the business because it's really important to understanding what the application is requesting. After Sandy, when Copart called me, I worked with them on their initial site plan application. And they told me they had this need for a revision to their operating hours. And maybe you can explain just generally the need to expand operating hours and what the purpose of it is.
The purpose is so we can have flexibility. Like I've explained before, our business is seasonal, and it is also based upon, unfortunately, catastrophe. So we want the ability to be flexible in the time of need to service all of our customers and basically just to play catch up once in a while. In addition to that, we are expanding our donation business, like I explained before, and we would like the opportunity to service that customer better and expand our hours for Saturday drop-offs for those particular customers.
Before we get to the actual list, and you might want to get that in front of you. It starts on page 11. The list of it's basically an extract verbatim from the application itself, and I'll let you go through and explain what it is that is being requested. Copart understands that its business is not the same as a small shop or office. They want to be a good neighbor, which is why they initially agreed to limit their operating hours, but as you've heard, the situation has changed. So we're proposing this number of measures dealing with operating hours and also a number of measures to mitigate the operations. And we'll go through those now and specifically identify what we're seeking to do. Let's see. Now let me give you mine. We have different page numbers. Okay. All right. So these are the things that are part of our application. You're familiar with them.
Shall I go over?
Yep. Just go for it. Yeah.
Extend the hours of operation when the business is open to customers Monday through Saturday for business hours. Currently, the hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Customers or trucks picking up cars that have been purchased.
Okay,
That's
so,
only.
all right, so what would this extension,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. May I ask a question? Are you reading from a document that was presented to the staff?
it's the I've extracted the contents from the application letter.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're
Look at the right
looking
here.
at Mr. Liebling's letter of July 29.
Right. I've got it in my hands as he was speaking.
I didn't know, see all the board members looking at that, so I thought I'd...
Thank you. Please. Everybody's got the letter, page 3 or 4.
May I continue?
Yes, please.
So let me explain what the extension would include. If a customer is at the facility by 5, they will be serviced. For instance, we don't want to shut the doors down exactly at 5 if they made it in at 5. We will still service that customer as any business would. We just want that flexibility. If a customer is scheduled to pick up a vehicle before 5 p.m. and calls and says they are running late, Copart then we'll let them in if possible and service them. We want to be permitted to delivery of inventory, drop off of vehicles by subhaulers contracted by Copart, only on block, which is the front lot, which is Exhibit A, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Subhaulers have
How
keys.
does that change from the current?
It's extending to Saturday. Currently, it's at Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday. We're asking for Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Subhaulers have keys to the gate. They can let themselves in the staging area, which is called the bullpen, and they can drop off the vehicles and leave the facility. We want to be able to have Copart's employees present outside of the business hours and drop-off areas, but with no operation of equipment anywhere on the property. So, for instance, if we have to do an audit or inventory of our vehicles. Upon prior notice to township, allow full operations on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., only in response to a New Jersey state of emergency that will result in an increased flow of vehicles to be processed. So now let's look at the mitigating measures that are being proposed in connection with these requests. With respect to the 8 to 5 business hours, Copart will do the following. Gates will be closed halfway at 5 p.m. to indicate closure, but to allow vehicles already inside to exit. The gate will be closed after the last customer leaves, and reclosed after the last employee leaves. Signage on the interior of the office will show business hours as Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. because we don't want to advertise to the general public that we're open on Saturday. For delivery of inventory occurring between 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, no more than 30 trucks per week, no more than a total of 90 damaged vehicles per week.
30 or 35?
35. Excuse me. The maximum size truck that will be allowed in the property during this time period is a 4-car carrier. Certifications of counts will be provided by the applicant to the township on a monthly basis. Drop-off, i.e. vehicle staging area, will be monitored by video, which is currently existing in the facility. Township may review video and drop-off logs to confirm hours and number of trucks that were delivered. Subhaulers will be given guidelines with operating restrictions and will be required to acknowledge that repeat failure to comply with results will result in termination. So we're not seeking to have vehicles dropped off on Saturday after 5 p.m. I just want to make that clear. During Saturday business hours, no use of motorized equipment, excluding dust control if needed, within 400 feet of the eastern property border of the main lot.
You want to take a minute and show on Exhibit 2
Sure.
this buffer area that's being created?
So this would be the no motorized equipment on Saturday. So this area here in our facility, it's about the halfway point. No moving vehicles.
Do you remember the comments of some of the public at the last time we were here about the problems of operating near the eastern boundary line on Saturday?
Yes, I actually went to, I visited a few residences that were lined along the property here, and and then with our last meeting, we did take into heart that this area was kicking up dust, and they had some dust issues from our operation. So we're willing to work with that and comply, so there's no dust for the residences.
Okay, yeah, come on back.
We are to install signage on the Copart Road indicating that parking restrictions are strictly enforced and that trucks that are parked there will not be serviced at the facility.
You mean Camplain Road?
And that's Camplain Road.
Okay, thanks.
Excuse me. We will post bilingual signs in the office reminding haulers to avoid driving on neighboring properties. Require existing trucks to make a right turn only and install signage and striping to that effect. Left turns will still be allowed for passenger vehicles exiting out of the separate office driveway to the east. We will repair damage to lawns and landscaping to the neighbor's property. Install privacy features in the front gate to minimize noise and light. Replace existing landscaping where required. Adopt dust control protocol through the use of a spray trailer. And here's the, you want to hand these out?
Yeah, let me give them to the board.
We marking these exhibits, Mr. Liebel?
This is Exhibit 3. It's 2 photos of the dust control trailer.
Can we get a time frame as to when the pictures were taken and by whom?
The pictures were taken by myself, and those pictures were taken almost a year ago.
During the summer?
It was right after the conclusion of our last meeting, where the recommendation was to take care of the dust control. So we built that trailer for that purpose.
Some of the mitigating measures that have been proposed require a revision to the approved site plan for the main lot. And as such, we've submitted an amended site plan showing those revisions, and our engineer is here to describe those, but we certainly can pause before that testimony if
Anybody have any further questions for the witness?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Eric? Mr. Bernstein?
Mr. Liebling, who's going to testify on the Sunday issue? Mr. Hopkins or someone else?
the testimony beyond what was given?
Yeah. The applicant is seeking to operate Sunday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. during a declared state of emergency. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is the applicant indicating under what provisions of a state of emergency they plan on operating, since the governor has the right to declare a state of emergency anywhere in the state of New Jersey for any storm, whether it be rain, snow, or otherwise?
Well, to answer that
Mr.
question,
Hopkins.
It would have to be in our service area. We don't just service Hillsborough. We service mainly North Jersey. So
if the governor were to declare a state of emergency in the Passaic River Basin because of flooding due to a freak thunderstorm, you would like to operate your place of business on Sunday between 8 and 5?
only if it's needed.
And how are we going to define what's needed? Since you're asking this board to basically agree to an open-ended opening on Sundays.
It's a good point.
Well, we would notify, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, it's a good point.
Yeah.
How,
Well-
whereas there's got to be some kind of protocol that we just can't just blanket, just throw it out there.
Well, we would notify,
Telling the township that you've determined that there's a need for this because the governor declared a state of emergency somewhere in the 10 northern counties. Is that the protocol you're indicating?
if it requires us to, if it influxes our business, that's what we would like, yes.
How are you going to determine how it influxes the business?
How would you determine?
No, how is the applicant going to determine that
The
based
amount
on
of-
the criteria of a state of emergency which can be declared at any time for any reason?
We would determine that on the number of assignments that we get. So if that volume spikes to uncontrollable levels, then that's how we would determine if we have a need or not.
And what is that determination?
What's the number?
What's the protocol? What's the number? What's the basis? The insurance company calls and says, we've got 20 cars we want to have stored, and it's Sunday, and there's been a state of emergency declared in Sussex County, which I believe is part of your area, is it not? So therefore, we want to open on Sunday from 8 to 5. Is that the protocol you're discussing here?
Yes. So if I had to throw a number at it, it would be triple our current volume, and it would have to be an extended period of time. We can absorb an influx for about a week, but anything after that, that's triple the volume. We do need assistance.
Is the applicant indicating what hours it's seeking to have open between 8 a.m., after 8 a.m., before 8 a.m., and after 11 p.m. on Monday through Friday, and before 8 a.m. and after 5 p.m. on Saturday to allow employee operations? Is the applicant seeking to be able to allow the employees to be on site 24/7?
No.
Okay, so what parameters is the applicant proposing, based on Mr. Liebling's letter of July 29th, to address the third requirement in the notice, which is the right to have employees on the site anytime outside of business hours and drop-off hours, which I believe the applicant is seeking for 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday?
Are you able to put a time frame around when employees would be present on the site outside of business hours and drop-off hours? Are you willing to? Or
Well, if the
are you-
applicant's not willing to, is the applicant willing to withdraw that request as part of its notice?
Well, it doesn't have to withdraw it. It can say it's seeking for 24/7. If
That's fine.
That's what I'm asking. Are you, is there a time frame in which,
I mean, if you're asking me if I need to go into work on a Sunday because I need to print a report, yes, 24/7.
And how are you currently operating?
We're operating Monday through Friday.
So your employees are not on the site after 5 o'clock Monday through Friday?
No, they are at the site after 5 p.m. closing up business.
And how long currently are they operating on the site after the close of business at 5 o'clock and before the opening of business at 8 a.m.?
It usually takes about an hour to wrap up business after 5.
And that's the way you've been operating since 2011?
As far as I remember.
And what about on Saturdays?
Saturdays we're normally not open, but we have on occasion came in on a Saturday, just the employees, to inventory vehicles and take care of auditing purposes.
Can I ask a question, Eric? So tonight, when the gate was open and it's 6:44, there's a car in front of the building, another car in a lot. That was you just waiting and hanging out before you had to come here.
I can't testify to that. I wasn't there.
Okay, gates open, 6:44, cars are in the lot. Not trucks, but cars. Today. I drive by there every day, sorry. I didn't mean to do a gotcha, but I was gonna have to ask and why that I always see cars there. And this is the first time I ever saw the gate open too.
There's a possibility that a sub-hauler was dropping off cars at that particular time that you were there.
And somebody forgot to close the gate.
And, well, maybe he was still there.
No, oh, you mean the truck would leave the bullpen area?
Yes, he probably came in. I'm just assuming. He probably came into that facility, dropped off his load, and was
Because
still
I would think
there,
from a
was still
business
present.
point of view, you don't want the gate open unless it had to be open. You wouldn't want the gate open.
That is correct. We don't.
You probably want to know that.
We tell our sub-haulers that to shut the gate.
Well, guess
and
what?
we
The
tell
gate was
them-
open tonight.
And then we tell them to shoo out customers if someone comes in. Tell them to get
Okay,
lost.
just for your edification, there was an open gate today.
Mr. Hopkins,
I'll speak for myself. I certainly won't speak.
I do have
Look,
one other question, if you
I'm
don't
sorry,
mind, Mr. Delcourt.
Mr. Bernstein, I thought you were finished.
Mr. Hopkins, currently, when there are customers on your lot at 5 o'clock, what do you do with them? You shoo them off the lot, or what's the procedure if they're still on the lot at 5 o'clock?
If they're still on the lot at 5 o'clock, I basically, lately, I've been telling them, you're going to get me in trouble by the township. You need to get lost. But, I try to help them out as much as I can to get them out of there as quickly as possible. Like, for instance, they could have had a locked up tire on their truck or something that, maybe we could have helped them out with and get them out of there. But, I'm not saying that things happen. And when you're working with, especially machinery, unfortunately, some people do get stuck in there. And it's very unpleasant for myself and my employees because we've worked really hard that day, or we work hard every day, and we don't want to be there any longer than we need to be.
So why is the applicant proposing to simply leave the gates partway open, which would in essence potentially encourage people to come on the site after 5 o'clock when you're indicating you're trying to discourage them from staying past 5 o'clock?
I can attest that it doesn't encourage them because I've been there 3 years now, and it doesn't happen very often that people know our operating hours. So it does not happen very often, and if it does happen, notification is made to them, and they're told to leave the facility.
Mr. Delcourt, can I ask one? I know you want to ask one last question. Currently, Mr. Hopkins, how do you advertise the hours of operation on your website, since this is an internet business?
Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And all of your people know it's a Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yes.
How are you proposing, assuming the board granted you your requests, or your client, your boss's requests, How do you plan on advertising that on the internet?
The same way.
So we're going to continue to indicate a Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. operation, but we're going to have extended hours on the weekends and in the evenings.
That's correct.
Thanks.
In my view, and I'll speak for myself, I think we are sort of treading in an area that I don't think we need to tread into as far as the hours of operation for the employees on site. I mean, we have a business, these guys have that they need to operate. And if the employees need to go in to run inventory or do reporting or do what they have to do, that's one thing. Having trucks come in at 11 o'clock at night on a weekday or Saturday and Sunday, to me, is a different issue because that's ultimately impacting some of the surrounding area. But from a standpoint of employee access to the facility, I think we're slicing that a little too thin as far as I'm concerned. So my question to you is, from a normal standpoint of timing that you would need for your employees to operate the business, is adequate, is what you've requested from a Saturday perspective or whatever time you need to have, what are you asking for your employees?
Well, currently I'm asking my employees to be there Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But I'm coming to you all to ask for some flexibility.
Let me help you here. If your retail operation is open from 8 to 5, I'm going to assume your employees have to be there longer.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, so let's start with that premise.
Right. Well, I mean, employees do arrive at the facility 7:30, be ready for work, and then employees do leave, especially myself. I'm there late. Sometimes I'm not out of there until 6 p.m. Is that what the question is?
I guess I'm trying to understand what you want for your employees. What access are you looking for?
To
me, there's a big difference between running your business with trucks coming in and out, which is impacting your neighboring properties, and having your employees have access to the site.
We tried to be specific about that in the application, and we didn't not add any time frame for employees for exactly the reasons you stated, Committeeman, and did give specific time frames for truck activity. So we're not proposing any limitation on employees for the reasons that you stated.
Well, your request says allow applicants to be present outside of hours, which to me would assume that they're currently not allowed to do that.
Well, we wanted to clarify it
okay,
because
that's what I'm asking.
It did come up last time.
What are you asking for? Because I'm not clear what you're asking for.
We're asking for a clarification that employees are not bound by the same business hour frames and drop-off hour frames that apply to trucks.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chairman, a couple
Please
questions.
go ahead. Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
Item number 6 of both resolutions, the clarification. 1B, how often do people call in before 5 and say, I'm on my way, I'm late? It's a curious thing to ask, you know.
And how could that possibly be monitored?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I could tell you it happens every day. Every day.
Okay.
And our response is, you better be here before 5 because we're closing.
Okay.
And sometimes they squeak in there right at the last minute, but we always discourage them, and we always tell them you need to be here at 4:30 if you plan on if you want that vehicle loaded on your truck. You should be here at 4:30 to allow us time to load you up before you're closed.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so you encourage them to be there before 5.
Correct.
It seems to me adding this would discourage them from worrying about being there by 5. Because if someone can call, say, 10 minutes before and say, I'm right around the corner, you know, there's still time to handle. the process still takes time, right?
Right.
So you know that's going to go after 5, and playing devil's advocate, what's going to stop employees from saying, you know, if you're going to be late, if you think you're going to be late, just give us a call. It's like this open-ended thing, you know. How do you police that? You know, to use that term, how do you control that?
Well, we control that with our obviously we're a business. We want to make money. The bottom line is money. We want to cut costs and increase profit. So the best way to cut costs is reduce overtime. So obviously that's being looked at in a business. So
Right.
anytime customer comes in at exactly at let's say 450, right? That costs the company overtime.
I understand,
and
and
that's
right.
how we police ourselves with that
So-
purpose of wanting us to make money.
So then that doesn't really make sense with 1B, because you're no longer encouraging them to get there by 5. You're asking for permission to allow them to come in after 5, just as long as they make a phone call. So then
Yeah, I don't.
it's different. Well, that's what it says here, right? If someone calls and indicate that they're running late and applicant's personnel are available, the applicant will allow the customer to enter. So you're no longer restricting the hours. You're looking for more flexibility. So now it's the opposite argument of what you just made.
I understand what you're saying. Can I just discuss it for momentarily here?
Sure. Yeah. Right?
You don't do this. Dr. Maruli and Mr. Chair, we can remove this from the request. It's not their practice. The request that if someone is scheduled to pick up a vehicle before 5 and they say they're running late.
Thanks, but no thanks. Wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one other thing.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Okay, the following page for delivery of inventory drop-off occurring during evening hours. A says no more than 35 trucks per week. B, no more than a total of 90 damaged vehicles per week. As I recall from the last time you're in front of the planning board, because I asked this question myself, how are you tracking how many trips? And you've done a lot of that, and how many trucks are coming and going, but you didn't really have a specific answer at that point. But how would you track this, and when the 36th truck shows up, tell them, you know, that's it, can't take you? You know, 37th truck, the 38th truck, or whatever, or the 91st damaged vehicle per week. That's got to be difficult to do.
I think technically we would have to under the scope of the approval.
Yeah, but how do you do that? Yeah, technically you would, but the issue that I brought up the last time that you were here was that you were asking for an increase, I'm going by recollection, increased number of trips, but you didn't even know how many trips that were being made at the time, okay? So you agreed to come back and give the information, and you have more information about the number of trips, number of trucks that are coming and going, but I don't see a structure for how you would keep track of this and what you would do to say, okay, 36 truck is not allowed in.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman,
Well,
before Mr. Hopkins answers that, I have a partial follow-up. The drop-off period of time is after hours when you have no employees on the site, or limited employees. So how are you, on top of the tracking issue,
Right,
how are you
right.
going to keep track when the only people who have access to the site are your subhaulers?
But in the way that we stated, what we would do is we would impose logs, like we are requesting, and video surveillance. So if anybody is found that they are violating our agreement, then they will be terminated, like I said before.
You require, when a subhauler drops off a truck, to fill it out in a log. They don't just drop in and leave.
Right, they fill out paperwork, they drop off the paperwork there. We log every car that comes in first thing in the morning. What we do is we count the cars, we log those cars in, and and then we check the camera and see if that same amount of cars is still there at 11 o'clock. And that's how we monitor that.
Okay, so that's the monitoring. So then let's say during one night, the 34th, 5th, 6th, 7th trucks have come in, vehicles have come in. How do you, what's the process by which you say this one, and this one, take it away? You know?
I'm not following you.
Okay, if we go back to, for delivery of inventory drop-off occurring during evening hours, which is number 2, A says no more than 35 trucks per week. So if during the night you determine based on your video surveillance that 34, 35, 36, 37 have come in during the night, how do you determine, and what do you say to 36 and 37? I mean, just, you know, how do you handle the situation?
Yeah, a Thursday night, you've had 35. That's 35 trucks have come.
Yeah.
How do you make sure nobody comes Friday night because you've hit your limit?
Or how do you get 37, 36, 37, and 38 out there without processing them?
Well, just you know, these numbers that we've given you allow us leeway in case there is, in case the exact same scenario does happen. So, you know, okay.
Yeah, so my point exactly is that you're asking for a specific number, but with the concept of leeway.
What I'm saying is that we're on an understanding that this number is based off an average amount that happens, right? Mm-hmm. And we're accounting for if there is a case where there's a small influx. So that's what we're asking.
Mm-hmm. But these, you know, again, these are, you know, I'm trying not to split hairs here, but these are not average numbers. You're putting a specific number on, and see, you're asking us to approve a number, and then saying, but, you know, this is an average. Mm-hmm. So then what does the number
what's
become?
The alternative, though?
We're not suggesting that we average this 35 over a month or 6 months.
Right.
It's literally it is in excess of what they expect.
I think the point is, regardless, you have no ability to stop it or monitor it.
Right. How are you going to police this?
You're putting restriction on that can't be dealt with.
Understood. So let's say you've had 35 trucks by Thursday night. What would your plan be to make sure no more trucks come in Friday after 5 p.m.?
Well, currently, you know, what we're doing now, because we can't drop on Saturdays, we're asking the subhaulers to hold these cars until it's appropriate time to drop them off.
Are you in touch with the subhaulers? You can contact them?
We contact them every day. We see them every day.
Via email, phone call,
Face-to-face.
text, face-to-face.
Face-to-face.
We're butt up against some hours, some time here. How much more do you have to talk about? How much more do you have to? No, as far as he's concerned. This witness.
No.
Are you finished?
He's just asking. He's just answering questions.
Okay, so you're done. Okay,
yes.
You finished? You got it all out?
Sure.
Good? All right. Board, we're going to open it up to. I'll ask. You have any questions?
Oh, no, I do not.
And Bruce, do you have any more questions? Okay, we'll open up to the public. Motion, please.
Motion. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're going to accept questions from the public. Let's do left to right. Okay.
To this witness only.
For this witness only. I think they all know. They've been here before. Left and right. Anybody on this side of the room that, sir, please raise your hand, come forward. Make sure you speak into the microphone. First name and spell your last name for our kind lady here. Thank you.
Good evening. Mike Sopko Jr., S-O-P-K-O. I live across the street from Coparts at 2127 Camp Plain Road.
I recognize you from the last time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Your property got chewed up pretty good.
But yeah, I noticed the same thing you did tonight, that the lights were on and there were no trucks inside the gates.
And the gate was open.
The gate was wide open. I don't know. The gate has a combination lock on it, so I don't know how they are going to police this. It's very hard.
Try to make it into a question.
How are you going to police the trucks coming in and out?
Now, well, we're going to notify the, like I said, as stated before, we're going to ensure that the sub-haulers understand the parameters of what they can and can't do. We're going to hold them accountable if they don't abide by those. We're going to monitor by video surveillance in conjunction with a log system, and we're going to leave it up to the township if they want to see for themselves.
Okay. Next question is, are you aware that you do have deliveries coming in on Saturdays and Sundays?
Currently, you have deliveries coming on Saturdays?
I'm not aware of that.
Currently, there are at least 3 deliveries on every Saturday, and at least 1 or 2 more on every Sunday. So you're obviously not policing it yet, I could assume.
Oh, God.
I'm not aware of that.
Who's there on Saturdays and Sundays?
There's so many different ones. I've seen executive towing there.
No, I mean when employees are working
Oh, no
there.
employees have been there.
They
Drop offs.
they just drop it off and leave it
Yep,
there.
drop it off and out the gate.
You don't have security cameras
No, you should be
now?
able to look at the logs that you have,
Excuse me,
right?
Dan, do you have security cameras that come in?
I do have it.
And you have logs of equipment being dropped off or cars being, I can't call them cars, property being dropped off.
Correct.
So you know who's bringing them in on Saturday and Sunday, if you wanted to pay attention. Okay, trust me, I know what you just said, yes. Please, you have to assure the board and the public that from this minute on, it's going to be changed. If we were to even consider giving you permission. This is where, you know, we pretty much know. If you have a log and you know who's dropping them off, then you know somebody's dropping off on Saturday. If it's multiple opportunities that they've been doing that and you haven't told them to stop, or if you told them to stop and they're ignoring you, you haven't fired them. Am I making some pretty good assumptions here? All right, I'm just wondering. All right, so I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm trying to be fair to you. But I have to say, I trust him, and I don't think he has a stake in this game to say there's somebody coming on Saturday and they're not.
He lives across the street.
He lives directly across the street. He hasn't been dramatic. He's been very calm about it. This is the second time he showed up. I kind of trust this guy. I'm having a hard time understanding why you couldn't just admit, yeah, I know who's coming in on Saturday. That's pretty difficult. You understand my position? See how I feel? I'm not a stupid guy. I've been doing this for a while. All right, so let's move on. What other questions?
Let him finish the public.
No, I was going to say, you have any more questions?
That's all, thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Next, on this side, please raise your hand, ma'am. Please, question for the witness, no statements, and your first name, and please spell your last name.
Maria Janusik, Janucik. I'm a property owner with my husband in Hillsborough on Camplain Road, and we are Manville residents.
Thank you.
My first question is...
Would you like to put that down for a second?
Yeah, and the thing is, I have a lot of things, and it's difficult for me to deal with.
Maybe if you move the water bottle, she could use to your side of the table, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
just make sure it's for this witness. So.
It is for this witness, right? You have a question for this witness?
Yes.
No testifying.
I have a question. This question is...
No.
No. It has to be for this witness, please.
So wait a second. So the only thing I can do is ask questions?
Ask him a question related to what he said, please.
Okay. At this point,
Well, at another time, you can have a conversation where you can come up to the board and make comments, okay? But for right now, all you can do is ask him a question based upon what he testified.
Okay. How many cars you said are on this property right now?
There's approximately 3,400 cars.
And that would be how many on each lot? Do you know how many are specifically on each lot?
The acreage is roughly the same on both lots. So I do actually have that number somewhere here. It's not something we typically measure because we consider it all one lot. So what do I have here?
I didn't write it down because you said it. You consider it one lot.
1,700 on each lot.
Okay. And as of what year were automobiles stored on Lot 71, Block 101?
That's the back left lot, right?
The back lot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
You already testified.
Starting in what year did Copart start putting vehicles on that back lot? Block 71, Lot 1.01.
It was November 2013.
2013, November of 2013?
Yes.
Ma'am, do you have another question for the witness, please? We're really put up against a long...
I understand. It's just that I do have a lot of questions, and it's difficult to...
Can I call on you? Can I call?
Maybe call somebody else.
Maybe I can call somebody else. You can come back, I promise. Ma'am?
Go ahead.
Well, all right, we'll call somebody else, please. Susan? Could you please have a seat, ma'am? Thank you. I promise I'm calling you again.
Okay.
Hello, Susan. Please state your first name and spell your last name.
Never get this right. Susan Gulliford, Gulliford.
Thank you.
I have one question about the...
Your address?
Oh, Hunt Club Road. I have one question about the New Jersey state of emergency, where you're asking to be open on Sundays, and you said you had subleased lots. Some companies during Hurricane Sandy ran into zoning problems. My question is, what's your nearest approved subleased lot, since you're stating this is your plan should you have a state of emergency? And is it an official subleased lot? Okay, Hurricane Sandy hits, they're saying we want to be open on Sunday, the state of emergency's been claimed. Where are these cars going suddenly?
Currently, we do not have a sublot in the surrounding area. We did have one on
Royceville.
what? Yes, I believe so. That's and subsequently we vacated that sublot, and the lease is terminated.
So you don't have a plan B should a state of emergency be declared at this point?
Copart is really resourceful. They will have a contingency plan in place to lease property. It's above my it's above my pay grade, so to speak, for that type of planning.
Okay, I have a second question on the proposed signage on Camplain Road regarding parking, and at the beginning you mentioned increased law enforcement. I thought this had been previously discussed, so are you saying you're proposing it, or those signs are already in place?
We're proposing new signage, actually, on our property. I know there's signs on the opposite side of Camplain, but we're proposing signs on our side of Camplain that state no idling, no parking. It'll state you will not be serviced by Copart if you're found parking or idling here.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Anybody else on this side of the room? How about, sir, please come forward. Just to get an idea, I'm sorry, just give me a second, just get an idea, how many more people would like to come forward, except for, in addition, this young lady and then the gentleman in the back? I just wanted to give the board notice and the public notice and our applicant that we're brought up against a real difficult situation here. We do have 2 other applications that are on. More than likely, we're not going to get done soon enough to hear all of them. We might want to take a quick break, let them know that we're having time difficulty. Do I have a motion for a 2-minute, 5-minute break?
You called the guy out.
I know, I know, but I know.
When you let him ask the question, then we'll deal with it.
Ask your question, and as soon as he's finished, I'm gonna just take a 2-minute break and let Bruce speak to the applicants. Is that okay with everybody? Sounds like a good idea? All right, sir, please. First name, last name, spell.
My name, I live in the Manville. My name is Jen Rezutek.
Spell your first name and last name, please.
Please spell it, sir.
Spell your name.
Jen Rezutek, R-Z-E-S-Z-E-K. I want to find out why he told me, because I want to live on the 24th Avenue, Manville. He told me that it's not dust. This is the picture. What you sell me over here? It's not dust over here. You can see, it's not dust. This is not dust.
Do you want it? Yeah,
Well,
I don't know how I don't even know what I'm marking.
Wait.
It's kind of hard to mark evidence.
Can you describe what's in the picture?
Could you describe it, sir, and then if anybody from the board wants to see it?
I'm seeing a picture of the.
Sir, please come.
First of all, if we're going to have testimony, which apparently we're now going to have testimony, I'd like the individual sworn in, because he's going to give testimony as to what the picture is and why.
Sir, because you're testifying, you're bringing evidence in front of the board.
I bring.
We'd like, I know, listen, please. You're bringing evidence in front of the board for the applicant to respond to, for the board to examine. You need to be sworn in, okay?
Just raise your right hand.
Just raise your hand.
Why don't you just limit it to a question?
Raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Your answer, sir?
I swear that I taking the truth what I do.
Sir, can you indicate to the board what you have shown the applicant's witness on your laptop?
Because I hear that this is...
You have to talk into the microphone, folks.
Speak slowly.
Speak into the microphone.
Okay, because he told me that this is not dust. This I show on the picture that this is, if a full picture, is big dust. The dust is going from my side, because it's usually the wind is from the west, going from my side. Because I have a lot of window and the porch. Every 2-3 days I have a lot of dust on the porch. At the building. He open, I disagree, because he working the Saturday, he told me before that this side I'm living is not dust. I show you.
All right, sir.
What you explain?
Sir, when you say you told him being Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated that you showed him either some picture or some video on your laptop. Can you indicate to the board what is on the laptop and the time frame upon which it comes from? When was that taken and what is it?
Please turn it around so we could see it. Thank you.
Turn the...
You see, this is
Them, I'm not, the
Yeah,
beauty
start
of
from
it is
this.
I don't get to vote, thankfully get to vote.
You can see.
When was this taken, sir?
Let him get back to the microphone, Mr. Chairman. Let him just show.
He's not the only one. When was this?
Mr. Cohen, we please.
Okay. I got it.
There's nothing there.
Oh, hit the, you got it.
So that's,
Let him show the picture, and then we can get a description as to when. You see, gentlemen, see?
Yes.
You saw?
No.
Please tell us, when did you take the picture? What?
Microphone.
Into
Use the microphone.
When did you take the
Take the
picture? And speak into the microphone. For- Please speak into the microphone.
Date and time, please.
I, yes.
Thank
This
you.
picture was making last year.
When-
This year is the same situation. I have because I have the large window and the porch. Every day my wife because want to clean, he have the clean up the water and because it's a lot of dust. Depends what is a wet weather is not. If it's not weather, over there you can see that it is spot places. So is the oil is contamination, the soil is contamination.
Wait,
because
you're making a statement, and I need a question. I have a question for you. Was the picture taken before or after the approval and the creation of this? Was the dust after or before this? When was this? When did you make this and start making this operational?
Last year.
This became operational. You told us this became operational about a year ago, right?
Yes.
All right. So could have coincided.
Is the situation that you've depicted in this picture a continuing situation?
Is this happening now? All summer long. We didn't have much rain. Has it been happening all summer long?
It's the same. The situation because I have the look. It's the same situation is this year.
Okay. Thank you.
And because
no, thank you. Please take. Yeah, that's good. All right, for 2 minutes.
Mr. Hopkins, you want to respond?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Eric. Right. Would you have any response to him?
I've never spoken to that man.
The board motion to take a break for 5 minutes so Bruce can speak to the applicant.
Motion for a 5-minute break?
Second. 5 minutes.
Aye.
Quarter after.
Aye.
And he understands the terms and conditions of appearing before a board, especially with multiple applications on. The board has the right to cease this hearing and continue it to another date in order to hear one or more of the other applications on the dais. Mr. Liebling, is Mr. Hopkins available to return on a date in November for a hearing? I know he'd rather be root canal without anesthesia, but leaving that aside. You can go see it now if we come to an end.
Orioles just scored 10 runs, so the Oriole game's over.
I promised no one would say what the Vikings-Packers score was because he's recording it, so please.
Do we need a motion from the board?
Well,
Are you around in November? I'm sorry.
The next board meeting in November is November 13th. We would ask the applicant to continue this application with no further notice required to the November 13th meeting. There is no requirement for an extension. We're still within the time frame. If you would bring the current the current GM with you, as well as your engineer, we will allow the members of the public to come back, unless you want.
No further notice needed?
No further notice.
No further notice means you won't be getting another notice. That means the public will not be getting another notice, okay? November 13th.
At 7:30.
Bring birthday gifts.
Well, any problems? Problems?
My calendar's okay.
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 We need a motion to.
Motion to adjourn this application to
Carry
November
this
13th. Carry it
this
to November
application
13th.
to November the 13th, 2014 at 7:30 PM, or soon thereafter, as the board may hear the application with no further notice on behalf of the applicant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion.
All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed?
Mr. Liebling.
Thank you.
Hillsborough officials won't be notified either.
Nobody gets notified.
Nobody gets notice? Okay.
That's
Go
right.
back.
Ready, Costa? All right, we're back on. This is an application, RB Manufacturing LLC, file number 14-PB-17-MSR, Block 201, Lot 11. The address is 799 U.S. Highway Route 206. The applicant is seeking minor site plan approval to construct a new rail switch to the existing southernmost rail spur, to install approximately 357 linear feet of new track and install a new 35,000 vertical gallon storage tank to be used for mineral oil storage on property in the light industrial district. Please.
Good evening, Board. My name is Matthew Schiller. I'm an attorney at the law firm of K&L Gates. I'm appearing tonight on behalf of RB Manufacturing LLC, also known as Reckitt Benckiser, with respect to its property located at 7099 Route 206. We're here tonight for minor site plan approval, as the chairman said, and no variance relief is necessary in connection with this application. The applicant is proposing to install a new rail switch and approximately 350 feet of linear new railroad track and install a new 35,000 gallon vertical storage tank on site for mineral oil, which is current, as my client will describe, is currently delivered on site via truck, and in lieu thereof, they're proposing to have this mineral oil delivered on site via rail. I have available tonight a site engineer from my client, Matt DiCiccio, as well as my client's professional engineer and an environmental expert from Eco Sciences as well, if needed. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce my client's site engineer and have Matt DiCiccio be sworn in.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank
I
you.
do.
State your full name, spelling your last name,
My full name is Matthew DeCicco, D-E-C-I-C-C-O.
and your business address.
Is 799 Route 206.
Thanks.
Okey-doke.
He's on, and you need to pull yours closer.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Mr. DiCiccio, can you please describe to the board your position and experience with the applicant?
I am the facility plant engineer. I've been employed there 8 years. I'm sorry. I'm plant engineer at Reckitt Benckiser for 8 years.
All right. And as such, you're fully familiar with the property and its current operations?
I am.
And can you give a brief description to the board exactly who RB Manufacturing LLC, i.e. Reckitt Benckiser, is?
Reckitt Benckiser is a multinational company which in Hillsborough we produce household cleaning products. Lysol, Wizard, Riddix are some of our brands. And manufacture them here in town.
Great. And approximately how long have you been in Hillsborough?
Actually, I've lived in Hillsborough 30 years, but I've only worked for Benckiser for 8.
Okay. And
The
yeah.
facility, however, opened in 1971. We've been here since then.
Okay. And so Reckitt Benckiser has been in the facility, I believe it was since 1995.
The
correct?
facility was originally built in 71 as Sterling Drug.
Yep.
It's gone through a number of acquisitions and such, but
okay, great.
I'm not sure. We've Kodak, Reckitt and Coleman, Reckitt Benckiser, and now
Right.
RB.
So the existing structure, and for the most part, has been in existence since the early 70s.
The original structure from the 70s with additions.
Sure. Great. And can you describe to the board exactly what occurs on the property at this point in time?
We accept deliveries of raw materials and chemicals. We batch and mix them and manufacture household chemicals and finished products.
Okay, great. And approximately how many employees are currently employed on site?
Temporary employees, I'm not sure. Full-time employees in the 200s.
Great. And hours of operation?
24/7.
Okay, great. And can you describe to the board how deliveries currently occur on site?
We have truck deliveries, and we presently have rail delivery.
All right, great. And approximately how many rail deliveries occur on a weekly basis?
We typically have 2 rail deliveries a week.
Okay. And how does that occur on site?
The rail deliveries are between the hours of 8 and 5.
Great.
It's always first shift.
Great. And maybe it would be best at this point in time for you to, we can introduce the aerial exhibit and the rendering as exhibits A1 and A2, and you can just show to the board exactly how rail deliveries occur on site.
Unfortunately, I need to apologize for not having boards. Those drawings are very low. But our rail spurs parallel the CSX line, run north and south.
Stand up. And actually, before you begin,
Lucille,
maybe we
did
should,
they mark
can
them?
you just mark them exhibits A1 and
I
A?
have stickers.
You have stickers, great.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I didn't forget you.
So we'll introduce the aerial exhibit as exhibit A1, and we have a rendering of the storage tanks that we're going to be marking as exhibit A2.
Okay, this is the main CSX line. There's a switch here, which is our spur. We have two switches. We have a switch up here, and we have a switch. I'm sorry, right here. Yeah, it comes into our present unloading area here. What we're proposing to do is right where this line is here, is to add another switch so that we can put an additional rail car slightly north of where we presently have parking for 3 rail cars.
So you're effectively going to be adding space for a 4th rail car?
Correct.
Correct. And are you expecting any additional rail car deliveries as a result of this additional rail switch?
No, typically when we get a rail delivery, we have 3 cars twice a week. We anticipate that once a week we would have 4 cars. So every other delivery would be 4 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars.
And at this point in time, the mineral oil, which is really the subject of where this additional car will be coming in from, that's delivered by truck?
Correct.
And approximately how many truck deliveries occur per year?
Right now we get about 4 or 5 trucks a week.
Okay. And all of those truck deliveries for that's only for mineral oil?
Correct.
And all of those truck deliveries will cease as a result of switching over to rail?
Correct.
Great. So, and as a result of this switch from truck delivery to rail delivery for the mineral oil, will there be any changes to the existing operations at the facility?
Absolutely none.
So all the same number of employees, same number of operations, everything else will remain as site. It's just simply a change from truck delivery to rail delivery.
Correct.
All right, great. And can you speak briefly about the need for the additional 35,000-gallon storage tank?
Right now, the mineral oil is stored in a 10,000-gallon tank. We get truck deliveries, and that tank is adequate for a truck delivery. But if we were to get a rail delivery, we would want to unload that immediately and store it so that car is ready to go.
So in other words, in lieu of the multiple truck deliveries where this occurs, it's phased in over a period during the week, you're getting one large delivery, so you want to make sure you have a storage tank
Correct.
that's capable of holding it. And the approximate height of this storage tank is going to be?
35 feet.
And maybe you could show, based on Exhibit A2 to the board, exactly where this storage tank is going to be located on site.
It'll be located in the tank farm area where we presently have our storage, store our bulk chemicals. It's shown here in the 3D rendering. It would be visible from Hillsborough Road.
But it would be further away from Hillsborough Road than other existing storage tanks on site?
It would be right up against the building, so it would be not as tall as a existing tank, but it would be up against the building.
And can you speak briefly about the technology being used for the storage tank in terms of protections against spills or other leaks or accidents?
Sure. It would be in our secondary containment area, so we have adequate containment for its contents if it were to rupture. It is mineral oil. It would conform to all the DPCC requirements. would be built according to FM requirements, which is our insurance company.
Mhm. And briefly, the storage tank is going to be built over existing impervious coverage, or what's it going to be built on top
It's
of?
going to be built on top of existing secondary containment, which is impervious.
Okay, great. And just to backtrack briefly, just with respect to the impervious coverage, the railroad tracks that are going to be installed, is the vast majority of the railroad track is going to be built over existing driveway?
Correct. The vast majority will be over existing blacktop. A small area where the switch will be located will be on a grass area, which will have stone.
And what approximately how much area would you say is going to be new impervious coverage?
I believe the new impervious coverage was increased from, it's a slight increase. It went from 29.2% to 29.22%, so it's not a lot of impervious increase.
And do you expect any, I mean, as you said, there's only going to be minimal, there's not going to be any increase in actual railroad site visits from the train or anything along those lines?
None, no.
Okay, great. Anything further that you want to tell the board about the application? No. I guess we're
Whatever
open.
questions the
Yeah.
board might have.
Sorry, just one question. The
Sure.
new tank that you're putting in, will that now be the highest tank you have? Or I thought you said there were others that were just from an elevation standpoint.
There's a nitrogen tank next to the building. I'm not sure, it's taller than the building, so I don't believe this tank will be the tallest. I'm not absolutely certain.
Okay.
What do you say?
And the building height is?
Not
Is it a
sure.
three-story building or two-story building?
Well, I mean, the maximum allowable is 60 feet according to the
Okay.
zoning.
Thank you.
You have any questions, Lisa?
No.
Bruce, do you have any questions?
All the conversations, questions that the staff have had have been reviewed extensively with the applicant and his staff over the past few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion, okay, sorry.
I was going to say, the only other comment that I would have is the Environmental Commission report. They had made some suggestions or recommendations, and we're fully agreeable with that.
Yeah, we met with the applicant last Monday night, and there were just 2 points. One is they call it a Spill Prevention, Control, and Countermeasures Act, which is a federal and a state requirement because there's an addition of an 35,000 gallon tank. We just want them to add that into the plan, which we talked about. And then the other thing is we want that tank to be updated in their air permit as well.
And our environmental specialist is
Okay.
working on that.
So if you want to put that in the resolution, that the Environmental Commission was fine with that.
Okay, great. Motion to open up the public.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public, anybody in the public like to speak up to this application? This witness. Anybody want to speak to this witness and ask a question? Susan? Motion to close. No?
We can call if the board desires. I mean, does the board have any questions for a professional engineer?
Further questions for anybody? They're shaking their heads no.
I think you're good.
Okay.
We're good, all right. Do I have can I close it? Close the public? Motion to close the public?
Motion to close. Second.
I hear a second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to move the application.
Second.
With all conditions and reports, requirements, and agreements to same.
Yeah,
What do you say?
including the Environmental Commission.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Mr. Connor.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bring the suits on.
Yeah.
Or- 21-0 Green Bay.
Due to a conflict, Mazer Engineering and its representatives will not be involved in this application. The board's conflict engineer, which is Carroll Engineering, it did handle and will be involved in this application. And for purposes of the record, would Mr. Brown indicate who he is?
Yes, good evening, Board. My name is Richard Brown. I'm a licensed professional engineer, professional planner, and certified municipal engineer employed by the firm of Carroll Engineering.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. For the record, we're listening to another application. This is Mund Hillsborough Land, M-U-N-D, Hillsborough Land LLC, file number 14-PB-13-SRV, block 152-06, lot 28, and the address is 256 Route 206. This applicant is seeking an amended major site plan approval with variance for outdoor storage and parking waivers to alter the existing building to accommodate 4 tenants, one of which will have outdoor storage on property in the C1 Neighborhood Shopping Center District. And, sir, please begin. Introduce yourself.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mike Ogrodnik. I'm an attorney at Morrow, Savo, Camerino, Grant, and Chalk here in Somerville, and I represent Mund Hillsborough Land LLC. Excited to be here tonight on an application to rehabilitate the old Kmart property on 206 South. We do have probably about 7 professionals here. But I only anticipate to introduce our professional engineer. Our traffic engineer is here for comment if necessary. But as I stated earlier, and as the board is aware, this is an application that's predominantly pre-existing. We have our engineer, Brett Skapanitz from Dynamic Engineering. And as indicated, this is an amended preliminary and major site plan application. This is an application to basically beautify the site by adding a complete new facade, landscaping, landscaped islands, new lighting, restriping, and other engineering and aesthetic improvements in order to accommodate this site with 4 new commercial tenants. Historically, this property was approved beginning in 1978. It was actually approved in 1983 by Kmart Corporation, who operated until February of 2012. This site was closed and remains vacant to this day. My client, we have a representative on behalf of the owner of the property, Eric Mund. He's here to answer any questions that you may have about this, the leasing on this site. And what this application is seeking is to develop this property as to 4 retail uses, commercial retail uses. On the southern end would be Tractor Supply. We would also have a Planet Fitness, a fitness gym, a workout gym with 24-hour operations, a Dollar General store, and a 4th tenant to be named. This application proposes to reduce the size of the building. If you recall, there was an Asian grocery market on the southern end of the building. The applicant proposes to demolish that building and replace it with an outdoor storage area. Outdoor storage is a condition and is essential to this application. As you know, if you've ever been to a Tractor Supply company, they have an area outside for storage of things like mostly for agricultural fencing and for feeding bins and water bins and things like that. That doesn't make practical sense to store inside because they're outdoor items. And in addition, and my engineer will explain further about the intended use of the outdoor storage area, which is one of the, I would say, the key bulk variants this application necessitates. This application also does require some other bulk variances, specifically minimum side yard setback, maximum lot coverage, and maximum impervious coverage. But it's important to keep in mind that these conditions are pre-existing. The parking on this site for the intended use, there's a shared parking and cross-access agreement with the Worden and Green property, which is actually a separate property on a separate lot. But the applicant does propose, we were lucky at Kmart before they left, put a new roof, and they did repave the site. So we, after consulting extensively with the township engineers, were planning on, and if you look at A1, is the existing conditions of the site is to restripe and seal the blacktop and add a significant amount of vegetation and buffering and other landscaping improvements, and to also improve the lighting with all new lighting. The parking, according to section 188.68 for this use, is 549 spots. Right now, as was approved by the board in 1983, they have 321 spots on site. This applicant, through the work of the engineers and the traffic engineers, are proposing to increase that number to 383 spots. So the engineers can get 62 additional spots. So although a variance is required for the parking, I just hope that the board recognizes that we're improving the existing condition. The remainder of the application is really focused on the aesthetics of the building and the building facade, the outdoor storage area. They're planning to put in an aesthetically pleasing fence on the side that would face Route 206 South. We met with the Environmental Commission last Monday. There weren't any major comments. The comments that were submitted will be addressed by the engineering, our professional engineers, and unless you have any legal questions of me, I would introduce Mr. Skapanitz to go over the site plan, and then brief testimony if the board has any questions from the traffic engineer. Yesterday we did receive and submitted a DOT letter that this is not a significant increase in traffic. It's a signalized intersection. It's a pre-existing condition there. So unless there's any questions for the traffic engineer, I'll just stick with Mr. Skapanitz. Thank you.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. State your full name, spelling your last name.
First name is Brett, B-R-E-T-T. Last name is Skapanetz, S-K-A-P-I-N-E-T-Z.
Your business.
245 Main Street, Suite 113, Chester, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I would just like you to explain the application, the site plan, and answer any questions that the board may have.
Sure. And just briefly, qualifications.
Just for, can we get?
Which, okay.
Well, I was just going to say, Mr. Brown, he's been here before, so.
Put on the record.
Okay, for the record, please.
Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering, currently principal of Dynamic Engineering Consultants in Chester for the last 9 years. Licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. Licensed still current, and have testified before this board and over 120 others in the state of New Jersey.
Okay. We'll accept your credentials.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening. What I'd like to do is start out, it was mentioned before, just a moment ago by Mr. O'Brien, the Exhibit A1, which I've labeled as to the left side. Basically, this is microphone.
The mic. You need to.
Close.
Thank you.
Exhibit A1 is entitled Existing Site Photo Exhibit. What it does is it focuses in on the main portion of the application, which is the old Kmart building. That's about 63,500 square feet. That's been sitting vacant for about 2 years. That's to be renovated as part of this application. As mentioned, split into 4 different users, starting from left to right. Again, Tractor Supply, Planet Fitness, which is already undergoing renovations in the center of the building. You have then Dollar General off to the right-hand side, and just off the right-hand side, you can't see it in the photo, there's a smaller little notch in the building. It's about a 3,000 square foot area that sits off to the side of the building. You can see it in Exhibit A2, which is the aerial map exhibit, colorized version of the aerial map in the site plan set. That's about 3,000 square feet, to which there is no tenant as of today, but will ultimately be marketed to a retail tenant permitted in the zone. So the site itself, just for the record, we're talking about block 152.06, lot 28. In Exhibit A2, it is, I'll call it just sort of a pan-handled shaped property that I'm outlining with my finger that is directly to the west of the intersection of Route 206 and Partridge Road. So it has two access points, the signalized intersection for full movements, and then has a right-in, right-out driveway that's also shared with Lot 27 immediately to the south. As just mentioned before, there is that shared agreement between lots 27 and 28 for shared access, shared parking. So from a parking perspective, the numbers that were given earlier are a total parking number between those two properties. Though as far as improvements are concerned, all the improvements being proposed as part of the application are taking place on Lot 28. So the building itself, again, about 63,500 square feet. What will happen as far as any demolition, there is about a 5,000 square foot piece, just under 5,000 square feet, that extends out the southern end of the building. That will be demolished. In its place will go essentially pavement, which will be part of the outdoor storage area that I'll describe in a little bit more detail in a moment. Surrounding us, as the board, and for the record, we have Wendy's to the north, the office park immediately behind that, and to the north as well. IHOP to the south in the C1 zone. We're looking at the C1 zone across Route 206 and some mix of commercial properties, and then the R zone and single-family residential, Lindstrom Drive to the west. To move to the proposed conditions, introducing Exhibit A3, entitled Site Plan Rendering with a preparation date of September 26, 2014. This illustrates the proposed improvements. I'll go through in an alternate direction than I usually go. Things that aren't being done. We're not proposing new stormwater system. We're not changing impervious coverage. We're not increasing impervious coverage. We are not changing the flow of traffic patterns. The driveways exist. The signal exists. We're not proposing any right-of-way improvements. In fact, we have a DOT letter of no interest, which was issued for the property. What we are doing, however, is we're going to be improving the facade of the building, demoing that portion to the south, and then enhancing. Sorry. Okay. Good. Oh, camera.
I understand the only real important persons here are the stenographer and the videographer. The rest of us are.
No, I should know. I should know by now.
For the amusement value.
Sorry about that. So, the building, again, focusing on the changes. This illustrates the removal of the southern portion, about 5,000 square feet. The remainder of the building to remain. New skin going around the exterior. Obviously, the interior improvements to break up into the individual tenants. Again, Tractor Supply, Planet Fitness, Dollar General, and then an unnamed tenant to the north. On the site itself, we are improving the landscape islands that are located in front of the building and out towards Route 206 on the property with new landscaping, fixing curbing. We're going to be providing new striping. The striping out there, for the most part, has started to fade, so that is accomplished. In the the southwest corner of the property is an open paved area that will also be restriped. New striping is going to be placed in that location where really there's no parking delineated at this moment. That's where the 62 parking spaces are being added. From a stormwater utility standpoint, I mentioned the fact that there's no increase in impervious coverage. We're not providing new drainage improvements as far as collection, but one thing that has already started and that we are going to do is improve the basin in the rear of the site. It's been neglected over the years. The previous owner did not take care of cleaning it, so that process has actually already begun. Excessive vegetation has been removed. If the board has been back there, I was just back there this evening. It's been cleared. The outlet structure is going to be cleaned up. There was a break in one of the berms in the wall of the basin. That's going to be fixed and generally just cleaned up so that it will operate properly and function properly for the future. Utility-wise, all utilities exist to the subject property, so no enhancements need to be made there. From a signage standpoint, there will be building signage added, obviously, for each of the individual tenants. We're also introducing a new ID sign on this property. The only ID sign for the overall center, or really identification for the center, is an ID sign that sits on lot 27. That sign will remain. We're proposing a brand new separate ID sign that meets ordinance requirements. It will be a monument ID sign of the proper area and dimension, located just to the north of the signalized intersection. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything. Lighting, we are going to be enhancing the lighting on site. The current light pole fixtures will remain. We look to just relamp them with new LED fixtures. So we'll have more efficient fixtures put into place for each one of the stanchions that exist out there today. New shoebox type fixtures, LED as well, will be placed around the perimeter of the building to provide more sufficient light, specifically in the rear and on the northerly sides, which have low light levels currently today. From an operations standpoint, just to touch base on each one of the users, it was mentioned before that Planet Fitness is to be a 24-hour operation. Tractor Supply, it will be open 7 days a week, primarily from the hours of 8 a.m. To 9 p.m. There are Sunday hours that are just slightly smaller at 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. They'll have about 12 to 15 employees, 4 or so at a time. 8 to 10 on weekends, which is their busier time. Deliveries for Tractor Supply, typically looking at 1 to 2 tractor trailers a week, so not very significant there. There'll be some smaller carriers that'll come in also as well periodically during the week. There's usually about 5 or 6 of those, and I would expect those to be more of the single unit box truck type coming in. Dollar General, which will be located on the northern end of the building. Their hours of operation will be 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. They'll have about 10 to 12 employees with about 3 to 4 on site at any given time. Again, from a tractor trailer standpoint, typically 1 to 2 a week is what they'll see. But then obviously there are smaller goods, like any smaller retail store. You'll have your Coke, Pepsi, other types of trucks, vendors that'll come in, typically off hours, more frequently during the week, but those are ones that'll be able to drop off in the loading area at the rear of the site, similar to the larger delivery truck. A little bit more frequent, but again, smaller vehicles. And lastly, Planet Fitness, 7 days a week, 24 hours, total of 15 employees, 5 or so employees on site any given time. With Planet Fitness, though, we're not talking major deliveries. There may be a vendor truck delivering bottled goods, Pepsi, soda, water, that may come in a couple days a week. Okay, so one of the benefits, obviously, in breaking this up, while we're looking at a 63,000 square foot building, we're knocking it down by about 5,000 square feet, and then we're taking about 22,000 square feet of that. That's the Planet Fitness part, and we're taking that out of the equation as far as no longer being retail space. And I think ultimately it's probably reducing, or if not, just keeping it exactly the same, the type of delivery schedule that you would probably see with the Kmart. From a landscaping standpoint, I noted the landscaping, there's going to be about 350 total plantings, including the trees and shrubs that are planted throughout the landscape islands, as shown on the plan. And that's it. Outside agency approvals, I mentioned the letter of no interest. We have county approval. We're still waiting on DRCC and SCD, but we don't expect to be any problems given the nature of the application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
There were a couple of items in our report which actually the Environmental Commission had also touched on regarding a comparative analysis for sewage flow for the site?
Yeah,
pre and
no
post?
objection. We'll provide that.
Okay.
Yes.
And there was also an issue with the lighting. We would like to see the existing stanchions painted. There are also a couple of areas where we're well above the average, but with the LED fixtures, even though you're at a 25-foot, 26-foot mounting height, they can be adjusted, and I would recommend that you do that to try to get the average down.
No objection. Yes.
Okay. I believe you have touched on basically everything else that I had in my report. There's one other thing regarding the drainage. There is a missing grate at the
Yes.
northwest corner, so
Yep.
hopefully they'll address that before somebody goes in there.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't know if you could probably answer the traffic question. I had a comment in my report regarding the the circulation of the WB50 vehicles exiting the site
Mhm.
if they're going to go back northbound on Route 206.
Yeah, we actually have a turning exhibit
Oh, okay.
that we brought. I'd grabbed the wrong one. I don't have this one marked. We're at A4.
This will be A4.
While that's being marked, I'll talk to it. A4 is the vehicle circulation plan, WB65, so largest truck we're going to see, exhibit dated September 30th, 2014, and simply shows the truck coming in, can easily maneuver through the existing radius into the site, into the parking field, circulate around the building, and it again makes it through turns without touching any curb, any obstructions, or even clipping the opposite left turn, the southbound left turn lane onto Partridge. So it makes it with no problem.
And can you clearly mark out and give us the calculation for the number of handicap parking spaces that are required?
Yeah, there's 8 required,
8.
given our number of 384.
Okay.
So we need 8, and we have 8 on the plan.
With regard to the parking, I noticed that there was no striping on the north end of the building where the current vacant, potentially retail space would be. Would you consider striping that since it's in close proximity to that vacant space?
Yeah, actually, we really can't do that, and there's the reason why is, number one, I mean, the truck exhibit shows the lane in which the truck will travel to the north side of that space. So that takes up the majority of the area. There wouldn't be enough space for parking stalls and then room to back out in that location. And then in the notch, if we were to look at that area, that's actually going to be loading area for Dollar General. So there are loading doors located right near the trash enclosure at that spot. So there's really no opportunity to provide them in
The
that
notch
location.
area is what I was actually speaking to, but since that's going to be a loading area, if you could just delineate that or note that on the plan.
Will do.
That would be fine. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else from this point.
Thank you, Bruce. Any questions?
Just a comment, first of all, we received yesterday, I beg your pardon, today, a professional planning report. Now, I understand that's not the purview of this witness, but I do want to put that on the record. I think it would be useful if the witness were to review the composite staff review, going through the various requirements also expressed by Carroll Engineering, by Rick, as well as the other agencies and Hillsborough Township Environmental Commission. If you would do that, please, beginning on page 2 of 6.
Yeah, I do not have that document, so.
Are we okay with the board to keep going? Yep, motion to continue past 10 o'clock?
So moved.
10:30?
Yep.
Okay, 10:30 we'll quit, unless you guys could do it sooner.
We'll finish up as soon as we can.
So starting on that page, just to get a little direction, we just want me to run through where outside review agencies is there? or go-
What we're most concerned about is hearing, yes, we will comply, no, we cannot comply, that kind of thing, as
okay.
quickly as possible, if you
Okay.
would.
Well, outside agencies, we'll deal with those. Hillsborough Township Environmental Commission, we will comply. From Bureau of Fire Safety, we will comply with B. With A, we're working with the fire official, fire marshal, to work on the trash enclosure locations. It's very tight in the back of the store as it exists. We only have the building, a drive aisle, which is just wide enough for travel, and the trash enclosures, and then we have the detention basin, which we can't alter. So we only have enough room. We're not going to be able to make the 20 feet, but we're working with Fire Marshal. In fact, we've just had a recent discussion with them in the last day or so to try and talk about how we could work that out. So we'll continue to work that out with him.
Page 3 of 6, Carroll Engineering, if you just go through those items very quickly. It's very detailed.
Yep, A, I touched base on, which was days and hours of operation. Sewer flow will provide. We agreed to repair curbing and pavement where it's been deteriorated. We will clean up the light poles will be painted. Pavement markings will be redone. We'll make sure we actually show in our plan some regrading of the handicap spaces to make sure we're meeting ADA requirements, and we will ensure that that is done. We have the variance for the number of parkings, for the number of tenants. Maybe I'll save that at the end. Vegetation, any cracks in the pavement will be taken care of. Let me just go through the rest even quicker here. I provided all that. All the rest through Q on that page, no objection, we'll take care of. Great. Okay, and then so back to the, we do have the variance for the number of parking spaces. I mean, that was mentioned earlier. It's a subject of the fact that what we have there existing, we did look to increase and restripe additional area that was open to gain more spots. But really what this comes down to, I mean, our planners here can talk more about it in detail, but essentially it comes down to that we feel we have enough parking spaces that are there. If you look at the mix of uses, just for example, Tractor Supply, mainly going to be an operating, Saturday's probably going to be the busiest time, late morning into the early afternoon as everyone's trying to get their goods at that store. Whereas Planet Fitness, you're talking probably the largest space is going to be busiest 8 a.m., everyone going in before work, or maybe after work at 5 o'clock on a weekday. You may have an off hours a little bit on a weekend, but it's going to be scattered. So 6 a.m. 6 a.m. in the morning. So, with the offsetting operations and so forth, we feel there will not be a problem when it comes to the parking there. And then obviously, I mean, look at what's there today with respect to the retail use on lot 27 adjacent to us. Very, larger mix of very smaller tenants, quick in, out, such as the Chinese food place, the other food store that's there. So, again, do not anticipate being a problem with parking.
I have heard testimony from you on most of the other items. If you could skip now to page 5 of 6,
yep.
Middle of the page, during the course of a site visit. Could you address, if you can, the issue regarding the maintenance of the detention basin as an obligation of the client and lot 27 as well?
Yeah, well, it falls on lot. Most of it falls on lot 27. It's been undertaken already by my client to clean it. Again, being out there today, everything's been stripped. All the vegetation that shouldn't be there has been removed. The banks are being stabilized. The break in the one end of the basin on the backside is being repaired. The outlet structure is going to be repaired, and basically the fence that is basically been taken down but was falling apart anyway along the curb side. The store side of that basin is going to be repaired. From what look at the basin on the back side, that fence needs a little bit of repair to the fence as well. But all that will be taken care of, and then at that point, the basin will be maintained on a routine basis.
By whom?
By my client, the landlord.
Exclusively?
Yes.
Fine, thank you. As to the concern of residents to the rear of your property beyond the detention basin, who have come to the planning office asking for guidance. Can you address their concerns regarding what they're going to be looking at?
Yes, there's been discussions with them that the back of the building, there was a previous approval for the color of the building that they suggested it be painted that color. We found that old approval, found the color of the paint, and we'll be providing that color to the back of the building.
Very good. Will you be addressing any of the variance issues?
I'll save those for our planner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Board. Any questions for this witness? Okay, please bring the planner.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's open to the public. Motion to the public, please. Sorry.
Open. So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Susan.
But it's Susan. Public.
She's not the public. She's one of us.
Susan Gullah, Fort Hunt Club
She's
Road.
number 10.
I have one quick question. Are there currently sidewalks along 206 in front of this lot? No?
No.
I want to know, especially considering there's going to be over 400 units, residential units, across the road at that new development, if they would consider putting sidewalks in along 206.
Is Paul coming to see us today?
Hmm?
Nothing, it's a joke.
I would, at this, that approval is, subject to DOT. It's not a public right-of-way, it would be a DOT right-of-way. And I know from history in a couple applications, actually a more recent one, that putting sidewalks to nowhere, I mean, there's no connecting sidewalks to the sides. So I don't, believe it would be in the best interest to put in a sidewalk to nowhere along this frontage. That's my opinion, but again, nothing connecting to it. So it would just be along our frontage and no one else. Everyone would have to walk along the street from there.
Yeah, no, I just thought that they had gotten the new developer to agree to put sidewalks in across the road over in front.
I don't think that
I'm
was,
sorry.
was it? I don't think so.
Yeah.
It was requested, I didn't know if it did.
Chairman Cohen, actually, I would ask the question of this witness, what conversations they've recently had with DOT as regard to Section 15N phase, because there are plans by DOT to improve this roadway, and I think it's important to get on the record what the applicant's conversations have been with DOT, since the township is about to meet with the state in conjunction with the county in the very near future.
I
have no conversation. How about your traffic expert?
If we could briefly swear in our traffic engineer.
Good.
And he can address those questions, because I know he had come.
Well, first off, was he part of the conversations?
Yes.
Oh, you swearing him in if he was?
Yes, he was.
I think that's a yes.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your full name, spelling your last name.
Nicholas Verderisi, Verderese.
Your business address?
1904 Main Street, Lake Como, New Jersey. I'm a principal founder of Dynamic Traffic. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, professional traffic operations engineer. I've appeared here before, but it's probably over 10 years ago. I've appeared at probably 200 different municipalities in the state of New Jersey.
Mr. Chairman, would you accept our qualifications?
Yes, we do, and please answer the question without having it be restated.
Absolutely. I did meet with the Department of Transportation to discuss a future project that they're currently in the design phase of. The project consists of providing a median along Route 206 through this area and to eliminate some turning movements to properties because of the median on and off of properties. That project also consists of some jug handles, not at this location, but at other locations to accommodate left turning movements. It's not a funded project at this point. So their projection for funding is still out to like 2019 for funding, but the way things go, it was at one time funded back in the day, and they lost the funding, and then then now they're back in the design phase, re-looking at stuff. So it's pretty far off. As far as the impact of this site, we don't know at this point what it actually would be. From what I've heard, the traffic signal would remain at this location, so we would have the ability to exit to go north, left turn at the site. But there would be some jog handles to the north at Valley is what I hear. But again, they're still in the design phase, so we don't know yet exactly what the project is going to consist of.
That answers my question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Any questions from this witness? Okay, thanks.
Public.
Sorry, could you just wait a minute? Let's motion to open the public. We're still in close. Okay, Susan, please.
Okay, I had a chance to look at your traffic study, and I had two questions. I see you did it in July. Was that new unfortunate traffic light already in service when you did your study?
New traffic light
The one just north?
is not in service, no.
It was not when you did it, okay.
But it wouldn't affect the traffic volumes
That was my
at our
second question.
intersection.
Would that affect it, or the projections for that traffic light affect the I forget what you call it, the ratings?
No, it would not. And really, in essence, what happens for this property, it's really a swap of uses, so there really is no change in trip generation. And we did receive a confirmation from the Department of Transportation that this project does not generate what they call a significant increase in traffic.
Your project, not
Our project.
Okay.
Our project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have a question for this witness? Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
I do have one more thing that, why I skipped it, I don't know. Let me go back to the proposed plan. It's actually a pretty important part. Let's talk about the outdoor storage.
Outdoor storage, I didn't forget about it. I tell you right now, I was ready for this one.
So to the south, where we're removing the 5,000 square feet on the building, what goes in its place is paved area. I did mention that, but why it's being paved is because that's going to be 15,000 square feet of outdoor storage area for Tractor Supply. That was mentioned earlier in the introduction. So that's the area in dark gray just to the south of the building.
Brett.
That's about that area in gray to the south of the building. About roughly 80% of it, a little bit more, is going to be fenced in. It'll be a 6-foot high decorative fence that's placed around it. Where material will be placed. There is some additional material that will be placed out in front of that for sale. If you were to go by other Tractor Supplies, you may see wood splitters out there. You may see some other material stacked. Obviously nothing to the height of the building, but stuff down at ground level that people can walk by on their way into the store and look to purchase. When the store is open, there will be an opening from the outside to enter into that area, as well as obviously an access from the inside of the building into that area as well.
Would you say?
I'm sorry, just from the outside. Just from the outside.
Would you say it's similar to something you would see if you pulled up to a Lowe's or Home Depot?
Very much so. Yes.
I'm sorry. I just want to correct that. So you could only access from the outside. There's no inside.
There is no
access
inside.
to the outside storage.
That's
area.
correct.
And there's going to be no point of sales or staffed employees on that area. It's just strictly for storage, correct?
That's correct.
And
Or
no
show and-
patrons
or
are.
show and tell.
Well, in the fenced-in area, it's really just storage.
Storage.
Of large items that can be outside.
That's right.
So there won't be any propane tanks being sold like they do at Lowe's with the racks. No plans.
I don't believe in the fenced-in storage area there will be propane tanks.
Any questions?
So will the access be from the front? I mean, is it for customers to go in it, or
No,
okay.
it's just for employees.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
again, there will be limited access,
Okay.
no point of sale, no access to the building. It's just really a storage area
Okay.
for large items that are not appropriate for an interior retail space.
And they won't be removed, and the ones that are the show and tell items will be brought back in at night. They're not going to sit out there, or they're going to be chained to something outside.
There will be items that we would look to have remain on the outside.
Okay.
For sale items out in the front, it'll be chained down.
And there's no hazardous materials stored out there?
No.
Nothing, okay.
Swarming.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Munn, the owner of the project, indicated that they do sell propane. It's not a pump propane refill station. It is Blue Rhino type prepackaged propane.
So they will have similar to the Lowe's. They'll have the gated Blue Rhino tanks.
We would seek that be included in the outdoor storage area as part of this approval.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any other questions from the board? Okay, you're excused.
Thank you.
Next.
Very briefly.
The planner was coming.
Yes, I do.
Can you please state your qualifications for the board briefly?
Say your name, please spell your last name.
Mark.
Right there on the ground.
Oh, yeah, here we go. It's Mark Cannulli, C-A-N-N-U-L-I. My address is 236.
Yeah, it's not working.
Let me start again. My name is Mark Cannulli, last name is C-A-N-N-U-L-I. I'm a professional planner with an address of 236 Garden Place, Robbinsville, New Jersey.
Thank you.
You want to state your record?
Yes,
Your
sir.
background for the
Yes,
record?
Mr. Chairman, I'm a licensed professional planner. I'm certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners. I've been in the industry for 20 years.
in both the public and private sector. I've never testified in front of this board. However, I've testified as a professional planner in, I'd say, roughly 40 different planning and zoning boards in New Jersey, both on the public side and the private side. I'm currently employed in the development community as a developer, and I often provide professional testimony for variances and use variances and other applications similar to the one we're seeking here.
Acceptable. You're going to speak towards the variance?
Yes, and to be brief, and I know we're moving the application along, as mentioned by Mr. Rydell, I prepared and submitted a planner's report. I'm going to avoid going into the details there. Most of that in the beginning, the intro, the subject property, the surrounding area was explained by Mr. Skapinitz, our engineer. I would just offer that in my preparation, I examined the C1 neighborhood shopping center zoning district, your master plan, your re-exam reports, your land use elements, relevant provisions of the MLUL, and I also visited the site and the surrounding area. What I believe to be 8 variances at this point, I was able to look quickly at the planner's report earlier, Mr. Rydell's report earlier today, and I believe that there may be one more. So with regard to the variances, we're seeking a variance from section 188-100 for the minimum side yard setback, where 50 feet is required. Currently, there is a 7.5-foot setback, and that's the small protrusion in the building that's going to be demolished. It's the edge of that building to the current property line. By removing that, we're improving that side yard setback. However, it still needs a variance to 40.2 feet. So in that case, it's an existing condition we're improving. We need a variance from section 188-100. That's the maximum lot coverage, building coverage, that is. 20% is your maximum. Here, the existing coverage is 28.9, and by demolishing that portion of the building, we again are improving the situation, and we're at 26.6%. We need a variance from section 188-100, bulk requirements for maximum impervious coverage. Here, the ordinance requires a maximum of 45, permits a maximum of 45%. 83.6 is existing, and 83.6 is proposed. As you heard earlier, the additional parking will be accommodated on existing paving. Only striping will occur to provide, parking in the southeast corner. I've got my north arrow, I can't find it. Southwest corner of the site, I apologize. There is a variance required for off-street parking. All loading areas and parking lots with 10 or more spaces shall have a 30-foot wide buffer from adjoining streets, property lines, existing residential uses, and residential zone districts. Again, I offer the same, that this is an existing condition, and in fact, the only parking we're adding is an existing area where cars are parked, but there's no striping and no organization there, so we're doing that. We need a variance from 188-68 off-street parking. The parking space dimensions, because it's currently striped the way it is today, parking spaces shall be 10 by 20 feet wide, except that a minimum of 1 space, but not more than 5% of the total spaces shall be 12 feet wide for handicap parking. It was testified earlier that we'll provide the handicap spaces. I believe that this is variance is required, and I'm going to look for a confirmation, is because that the way the spaces are striped today, they exceed in some cases in towns where we've had experience, those spaces are actually reduced in width and depth to provide more parking. Here, you're not going to restripe the entire parking lot. I think that would be impractical. So that variance is required. Again, the applicant needs a variance from the minimum parking requirements. It was noted earlier that there are the site requires 582.2 spaces, while 321 spaces exist. As the applicant and the attorney mentioned earlier, we're increasing that number to a total of 383 by striping that area in the rear of the site. And lastly, there's an outdoor storage variance required. where the ordinance says outdoor storage including non-motor vehicles. All storage areas shall have a 20-foot buffer from any property line except where adjacent to an existing residential dwelling or residential zone district boundary, there shall be a minimum of 60 feet. This is the only new variance being requested. And the second part of that variance, I understand, your ordinance does not permit outdoor storage, permanent storage for sale, as is proposed in front of the fenced-in area. So the applicant here is requesting to fence in approximately 15,000 square feet, not with an ornamental fence, but a chain link fence with what we believe they've agreed to provide some privacy slats to buffer that area, but would request that in front of that area, as was mentioned, that they be allowed to store some of the other items for sale. If you look at the site plan, the width of that area in view from the public, or the street, if you will, Route 206, is only 60 feet wide. I'd say that this type of storage is not like what you would see at Lowe's. In fact, it's a lot less. If you go into a grocery store, as you're entering, you'll see pallets of water, sometimes pallets of salt for your sidewalks. This is a small contained area, and it's on the far end of the building. And if you're looking from the Route 206, and if you're looking at the left exhibit photograph, you'll see the cars will be parked in there. And I'm not seeing that you're going to see this, and it's not going to be something that you'll perceive as you're driving by the site. So I think it's a reasonable request. What I'd offer quickly in terms of the proofs here to satisfy our criteria, I'd say that there's a practical hardship here in asking an applicant to amend the site and modify the site plan that's existed in its current form to meet some of these existing conditions. I would think would be impractical. We have an existing building here that's vacant. We have potential 4 new tenants coming in to your Route 206 corridor. I'd offer, in terms of positive criteria, under the MLUL, I'd offer that there are a few purposes advanced. Purpose A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use of development of all lands in the state. I'll paraphrase a little. This proposal is an appropriate use for the site. The current building was designed to accommodate commercial. We're simply subdividing that building into several individual tenants. And I believe that the property is appropriately served by Route 206. It has existing parking in the front. Additionally, the site is very large. It's over 5 acres, which is very suitable for multiple tenants. Therefore, it's my opinion that the benefits of the deviation would outweigh any detriments. I would offer purpose G, to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of, it states, agricultural, residential, here we say commercial, to meet, and I'll paraphrase, to meet the needs of all New Jersey citizens. The proposed uses are ideal for this site and will provide sufficient space for new commercial tenants to be located along your Route 206 commercial corridor, where these types of uses are permitted and will serve the current needs of your community. Lastly, our final proof is a negative criteria to prove that the negative criteria can be met and there's no substantial detriment to the public good, nor is there an impairment to your zone plan or zoning ordinance. Here I'd say, and it's been mentioned, that the applicant proposes to redevelop the property with new commercial tenants to occupy an unoccupied building, which will represent a major improvement to the current site conditions. As well, there are other improvements to the paving, to the striping, to the landscaped islands, to the lighting, to the building facade. It's my opinion that this development proposal is clearly not in any way substantial detriment to the public good. The second aspect of the negative criteria on the potential impact would be the deviation on your zone plan and zoning ordinance and master plan. And as I said, I reviewed your C1 neighborhood shopping center district, which clearly permits the types of uses here and encourages them. In fact, the goal of that ordinance says, and the purpose of that zoning ordinance is to recognize the areas of existing retail characteristics and provide the opportunity for new areas near existing and proposed population centers for the location of commercial services, limited entertainment facilities, and employment opportunities. In terms of your master plan, I reviewed your master plan, your re-exams, your examination reports. They all talk about your Route 206 corridor as being advanced and improved. Here, this proposal does exactly that. In fact, it advances relevant sections of your master plan, your re-exam reports by expanding commercial development and economic viability in this area. Thus, it's my opinion that the proposed variances will not substantially impact the zone plan or the zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
No comments, Mr.
Chairman Coleman, I find that the planner's report by Mr. Canuli, as well as his testimony, meet the requirements of the municipal land use law as he has testified.
Thank you. Bill, any questions from the board for this witness? Eric, you have anything to say?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We conclude our presentation.
Thank you. Open to motion from the board?
I move that we accept this
Oh,
application.
I'm sorry, wait, I forgot. Is there
You
anything
said
for the public?
motion.
Susan? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. Greg. Motion to close to the public, please.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, sorry, Greg.
Motion to accept this application as per testimony.
With all,
As per the testimony, the reports of the various witnesses, and the requirements of all municipal professionals and departments.
second? Second, and roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Dr. Maroney?
Yes.
Easton?
Yes.
Mr. Lafani?
Yes.
Committeeman Delcourt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
And Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
It's when you open it.
Actually, March for the Tractor Supply, end of December for Planet Fitness.
Okay, do we have any correspondence?
December for what, I'm sorry?
No, sir.
Okay,
December for Planet Fitness.
we have a meeting for next that needs to be canceled. So next week's meeting is canceled.
So moved.
Motion to cancel the October 9th and the October 23rd.
October 9th and
And
20
the October 23rd.
And the October 23rd meeting. We meet next November
13th.
6th. Not the
13th.
Not the 6th?
No.
November 13th, we meet again.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, pass. Adjourned.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned. Anybody says no?
Who
Everybody
made
says
the
yes?
motion?
Who made the motion to adjourn?
Mr. Wagner. Mr. Burchett seconded, all are in favor.
All in favor?
November what?
Everybody bring their,
October.
We beat 10:30.
October.